Hi, I'm Dan Agosto, and welcome to the Gearwire Synth Lab. Today we're taking a look at the MicroKORG. It's a virtual analog synth in a small package. So let's dive right in and take a look at our inputs and outputs. First of all, we got the headphone output. That's always important, nice to have. Of course, line outputs. You can use this mono or stereo. Over here, we have inputs for our vocoder mic. It comes with a condenser mic, but you could also plug in any low impedance dynamic mic. You can use a high impedance too, but the signal to noise is going to be worse then. We also have the volume controller trim pot for the microphone and a mic line switch. So you could also plug into the dynamic jack, you could plug a line source like another keyboard or a mixer or something like that. Over here we have line audio ins, or just one line audio in and the volume control for that. If we go to the other side, we have our MIDI I/O, in, out, and through. You could use it as a controller. You could sequence it off another keyboard or sequencer, and we also have the through, so you can chain more synths together. All right, so the cool thing about this synth is it packs a lot of different editing capabilities into a small package. And it's also virtual analog, so you're able to control it much like you would control a normal analog synth. Up here we have knobs that are labeled cutoff, resonance, EG attack, EG release, and then tempo. Whenever you switch to a patch, those are the controllers that are assigned to these knobs. It's pretty nice. So if I just say play a chord on here, I got a synth patch or a string patch loaded in. Control the cutoff with that knob. I can give it some more resonance. Put it all the way up and you'll just hear the peak pretty much resonating. There's also an envelope generator attack. That'll sort of change the swell of the notes. So now you hear it's bright right away. We turn that down. It sort of moves into it slower. And then of course we have the envelope generator release. That's fast release, and here's a slower release. All right, and the last one, tempo, would only apply if we're using our arpeggiator, but we'll get into that later. So let's flip it around and take a look at the in-depth editing capabilities using the editing matrix. Okay, so now we have a good view of the front of the MicroKORG. We can see our mod and pitch wheels. On this patch, it controls the mod wheel is going to control pitch of one of the oscillators, and we also have the pitch bend that will control both oscillators. You can control the range of the pitch bend. You can also control what the mod wheel will control using the editing matrix. We'll get into that. But for this sound, well, actually, we see the program select. There's different genres. We have trance, techno house, electronica, drum and bass breaks, hip hop, vintage, retro, sound effects, hits, and then also the vocoder patches. I'm going to try the hip hop vintage setting and see what kind of sound we get. Okay, so sort of like a Wurlitzer sound. We can use that to edit with. But let's check out some of the other patches on the hip-hop vintage genre. So there's some nice bass sounds. Some more strings. Yeah, let's stay on there. One other thing, you can there's two different banks to every genre. So there's actually 16 patches per genre. But I'm going to go back to the first side and number 5, the Wurlitzer. You can pitch the octave of your keyboard up or down. So you can also go down. I'm going to stay there. All right, and so let's take a look at our editing section. These two knobs are pretty important. They basically control which set of parameters you'll be controlling. And of course, the editing matrix actually shows you what each knob will do. Basically, you control which row you're in using these knobs, and then each column is controlled separately by each of these knobs. Now when you change to a patch, every knob is automatically set to a certain parameter, and we can see these here. It says cutoff, resonance, envelope generator attack, and envelope generator release, and tempo. So if I'm just going to go in here and I want to change the cutoff frequency of the filter, and resonance, it's automatically at my fingertips when I go to this patch. I can make it a smoother attack. On this one I want it to be a little quicker. And some release as well. Tempo we won't mess with right now because that's with the arpeggiator. So those are the basic functions of these knobs. But when we get into the actual editing matrix, we can see things like waveform, controller routing, oscillator levels, like in balance with each other. We also have the same controls, but it's just deeper. So let's get a little deeper in here. I can see that there's actually a distortion setting on here in this first bank of settings. So what I'll do, that's under the amp settings, so I'll switch to the amp setting on this knob, find the distortion knob up here, and as we can see here, it says off, and as I turn it, it'll come on. So we have some distortion. I can turn it off and on. I think I'm going to leave it off for now. What else do we got? We have portamento switch. You usually won't hear portamento on a patch like this, but we can put it on there. That's under the pitch row. And if we turn that on, or actually it's at 0, if we turn it up, it can be pretty. It goes all the way up to 127, pretty slow. I still like to have that fairly quick on this sort of patch. You control pan. There's also an envelope generator for the filter, so we can make the attack of the filter. Well, actually, first what I want to do is put the intensity of the envelope filter up. So that's under the actual filter setting, so we'll actually be able to hear it. And now I can change the filter envelope generator. So we're starting to get a sound less and less like the original patch. Down on the bottom there's also some settings. We have a delay setting, so some effects. Let's turn on the delay. First we'll turn up the effect depth, and that is over here. Right now it's 0, so it's off. It's a very slow effect. And the depth would be like a feedback amount. Turn tempo sync on, so the time will go up to the tempo. And then we also have a type. Right now it's stereo, so it's panning left and right. This would be a cross feedback stereo, and left-right, so sort of a ping-pong effect. There's also EQ and mod effects. Let's put some chorus on here. Or see, actually, let's see, it looks like they have flanger, ensemble, and phaser. I want to put some phaser on. So the next setting I'd like to change is effect depth. That'd be this knob. So now we can start to hear the phaser. And then, of course, there's also the speed. Okay, next let's check out the arpeggiator. For this, I'm going to turn off the delay. But to do that, I'm going to turn the delay depth all the way down. let's go to the arpeggiator. So right now we can see sort of the sequence that's mapped out on the program keys. Whenever we switch to the arpeggiator A row on our edit select 2, these come on, and we're going to turn the arpeggiator on. Okay, so that's the sort of sound we're getting. Let's play a chord. We can start to edit the sequence. And now, since we've changed since we've actually started affecting what we're changing in the editing matrix, this knob will not change the tempo by itself now. We have to find the tempo knob here and see that. So this will control the speed. There's also a resolution setting. So it was playing 16th, we can have it play 24th notes. This is about as high as it goes, so then we can get really fast. We can also go all the way down to quarter notes. So quarter notes at 300 BPM. We also have the gate control. Turn that down and it becomes more percussive. Each note is going to be shorter. And change that back to 16th notes. And over here we have type. This basic control is when you're holding on multiple notes, basically where the note is going to go. So we can hear that's different. Now it's on random. So I'll just go to random notes within the chord. And this is all the notes at the same time. Alright, I'm going to leave that on random. And then over here, there's one more row in the arpeggiator section. Latch. So when I turn latch on, I can let go and it'll keep on playing. If I turn it off, it will only be triggered when I play. Over here we have swing. A lot of people like to add swing. Key sync. Not sure exactly what that does, but the last setting on here is last step. So it's set to 8 now. That's the maximum. We can see we have 8 steps here. If we turn that down to 4, we can see now we only have 4 steps, and we go all the way down to 1. And we can control this while the sequence is going. We can sort of change the sequence, sort of randomize it with that knob. So those are the basic features of the MicroKORG. Thanks for checking it out here at the Gearwire Synth Lab.